Well, good afternoon. It's Monday meetup. Hello, everybody. Araya here. So my name is Araya Anra, for those of you that don't know me. I am a psychic medium, energy healer, and life coach. I specialize in guiding people back into themselves, especially for those that are dragons in human form. So I like to come on every Monday. Hi, Christina. It's always good to see you. Thank you for always being here on Mondays. I had, based on last week's video, another comment came in about anger and the healthy expression of anger and how we can do that, and how damaging anger can be when it's not released in the right way. So I thought, you know, what a great thing to talk and share about, because I'll tell you what, anger comes up all the time, right? Whether it's small amounts of frustration, irritation, whether it's a river of rage and just really needing to be a volcano and steam vent. And we all have it, and it's a part of us. And for those of us that are empaths, we're especially impacted because we feel everybody else's anger as well. And then you don't know, is it mine? Is it theirs? I'm just angry, I'm irritable, I'm, like this all weekend and wanting to kill somebody, right? And so how can we release that without hurting others, without, sending out a whole bunch of negative crap into the universe? And I think that's what someone was really worried about in their question of having had a discussion with someone about anger, and oh no, I would never put that kind of anger into the universe. Whereas it's actually more harmful if we bottle our anger. So let's talk about that first. If we stuff it, if we bottle it, what happens? If we don't express it, if we don't let our irritations out and we keep just putting them under wraps, putting them under the carpet, maybe we channel it into like trying to meditate it out of us. Well, a lot of times that just ends up leading into illness. So I will say that in my experience, most diseases that are malformations of the cells, like cancers, like other things that are diseases of specific organs, is typically because we have emotions that are on the negative spectrum of emotional energy that get stuffed into our body because we don't actually express them. We don't let our selves speak our truth. Where does Alzheimer's plaque come in? Where does dementia come in? Where do different malfunctions in different organs happen? It's because of the different layers of emotions and those that we're avoiding ourselves feeling. So focusing on anger today, if we stuff it down, it will come out, because everything, I believe, in our physical experience has to do with an underlying energetic alignment or misalignment. And so if we have things in our energy body that are densities, that are resistances, that are fears, that are unexpressed emotions, especially the negative ones, then those don't have a chance to get out, and so they start affecting the physical form. And that's when, after time, when you've done it long enough, it will manifest in some kind of physical symptom. Anger usually represents as well, besides cancers and things, as eczema or skin irritations. Our skin is the biggest organ of our body. It's the biggest thing that actually manifests and shows us things in the world, and it's our expression out into the world. Well, if our expression is being stifled, it will actually manifest those things. So eczema, rashes, a lot of acne can be unexpressed anger. Anything that gets red, bumpy, itchy, irritated on the skin, where are you not letting your anger out? And you know what? I used to be really skeptical of this kind of stuff until I started actually doing a lot of emotional release work, both for myself and then in turn for clients. I will tell a story. I had on this finger a wart, which is a malformed cell, right? It's a weird growth of cells on this finger for almost 20 years. And I would play with it constantly. I would pick it off, it would grow back. I would freeze it off, it would never get all the way through, and it would grow back. I would try burning it off, nothing took that thing away. And it was so prevalent in my world of experience that finally I just was like, all right, I'm just gonna live my life. And then I got into emotional processing and started learning some things. And when I finally allowed myself to go into an experience of rage and expression of it, and got to the underlying grief underneath it, I literally was on my bathroom floor, and I don't even remember what the event was about. I don't know what triggered it. I don't remember the specific emotion connected to this finger that was there, but I went through this really big emotional release. And one of my early videos, way back, if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see one called This Is What a Breakthrough Looks Like. It was a very similar event where I ended up breaking down And I'll explain this after we go through the rage part, but I looked down at my finger and the wart was still there, and something inside me said, oh my goodness, that can go away now. And literally it was gone the next morning. Overnight it disappeared on my finger, living proof. I was like, whoa, this is real, this works. This actually vacated that emotional trauma from my soul on a deep soul level, and it shifted my physical form. This is the power of healing through our emotions. This is why we're human. We have emotional experiences because we're here to be human and have those. But if we don't allow the full expression of them, then they manifest into something that's not supposed to be a part of our experience. So how do we actually express anger in a healthy way? If we turn and yell at our kids, that's not a healthy way, is it? If we yell at our partner, if we flip off the guy who just cut us off in traffic, those aren't healthy ways. Those are actually projection of anger. So projecting an emotion out on someone else is where I'm actually letting that whole flow of energy come straight out of my body and hit someone usually specific. Doesn't have to be, it can be like to all those people, but usually there's one or two targets specifically about it. Hi Marisa, nice to see you, or Marcia. Good afternoon to you. So when that's going out, that's very damaging. That's the most damaging way we can express, when we actually project it, and you'll feel it. If someone's projecting their anger at you, whoa, it feels like darts and spears coming into your chest. It's an awful experience. And that's why kids cringe and, they start going like this and crying immediately when you get mad at them, because they feel that anger coming. They can feel it even without words. If you're expressing and projecting anger, even without words, at these little guys, or anybody, but the little guys are the most sensitive. They feel it and they start cringing and crying immediately, like, oh, I made mommy mad, because it hurts. It's physically painful to have that come at you, and they're very sensitive to it. So how do we express it? Can the universe take it? You know what? Our emotions are meant to go out into the universe, into just void space, because energy is just energy. It can be transmuted as long as we're not sending it into someone. And into someone is into myself, either stuffing it or into someone else. But if I just express it up and out to the universe, Mother, Father, God is ready to meet you there and soak that up, shift it. Gaia is there to transform it into another useful thing. And then the beauty is that when she released that, Mother, Father, God, and or Gaia are there to just hold space for you, because anger is our cover-up. It's our way to deny the fear that's underneath it. And what's underneath that is some really old pain and trauma that we do not want to look at. That is too ugly. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to go there. So I'm going to get angry. I'm going to deny myself to go there, because I don't want to get sad today. I don't want to feel the hurt of all the times I was rejected. So when I start feeling this very little inkling of something rejecting me, I'm going to get angry about it instead. And when we do that cycle, it builds up in our body, right? So I encourage you, the next time that you get triggered, allow yourself to feel it. Because under that anger, there's most likely a layer of fear. Under that, there's going to be this layer of grief. And hi, Christina, thanks for joining. When I feel that coming, so whether it's full-on rage, whether it's just a slight irritation, allow yourself to go into and feel that. Where's it hitting you in the body? Oh, I'm just irritated. And I tell you what, if you can just, my kids know now, I will actually excuse myself to the bathroom if I feel this coming. When I'm, ideally, when I'm being a mature adult and really owning my stuff, I will excuse, and granted, I make mistakes. We all do. I yell at my kids sometimes, and it's not the healthiest way. And trying to reverse that, trying to reverse the patterns that I got from my parents, right? This is part of our cycle. It's part of our lesson of learning this time around. I will actually excuse myself and go to my bathroom and just yell. I'm just yelling to the sky. I'm letting it out because it needs to vent. It's just like a volcano. When pressure builds up in the earth and a lot of stuff keeps coming, then the cap blows. If there's a vent, then just like the crater over in the Big Island of Hawaii that's been spewing gently for 20, 30 years or more, it's got vents. It just keeps letting it out. It's avoiding a giant explosion like Mount St. Helens back in Washington in the 80s. The whole cap blew, right? Because there were no vents. There was no way to let it out. So if I go in and I start letting it out, that doesn't go out and damage anyone because I'm not projecting it. That goes up to the universe where all the powers that be, Mother, Father, God, Gaia, can actually transform and let it out, and it frees it up from your soul as well. Every time I do that, I actually find myself dropping into the grief. And usually the grief has no explanation to it. There's no mental story to it. You're just in raw, unabashed grief and just letting stuff out. That's when you know true healing is happening. If there's a story, if you're trying to figure out what the story is, if there's a poor me, if there's a victim, if there's any kind of mentality around it, then you're not actually hitting the core. You're still in some avoidance layers. But another piece that I found really useful, especially in the summertime when you can be outside, going and hiking in the woods, just ranting, getting a lot of exercise. You know, you can go and physically run and get energy like that out. But also, my best friend, when I was doing a lot of this anger release over time, is a 15-inch piece of garden hose. If you don't have a garden hose you can cut up, you can go to a thrift shop or a secondhand shop and get one. Hi, Chris. And I would encourage you, 15-inch piece of garden hose, because that thing, you can bang it on rocks, you can bang it on the side of your house, the side of a shed, a building, a tree. I guarantee you it won't hurt the trees. They're there to be helpful spirits, and that's why when it's rubber and it just sort of slides off of them, but you know what? You're getting so much angst and power and anger out of that motion that you physically can't do it for too long. You can also smash plates. I love suggesting this one. Go to a thrift shop or a secondhand store and get a box of dishes so that when if you know you've got a lot of anger stuff to move through, get a box of dishes and go and start smashing them on the ground. Maybe it's in the garage and you can smash the heck out of them into the garage and then clean it all up with a shop vac later. No big deal, but I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better when you can do that. So a garden hose against trees, smashing dishes, punching pillows or mattresses. One house I lived in France for a while, we had a basement level floor that had a big mattress on it. That was like a nap place or just go quietly lay after meditation. And I would go down there and actually just punch the heck out of it, because it takes about 3 or 4 minutes of physical exertion like that to get it all out of your muscles, all out of your body. Then you almost feel drained, and then the deeper emotions can come and you can just lay there and sob and reflect and allow it out. So I guarantee that there's no damage in the universe when we do it in that way, when we do it properly and really help ourselves, because you're going to find that as you release that, not only is it an endorphin flow into like, wow, I feel so much better, but your soul is going to feel lighter and you're going to notice your law of attraction change. Because once you release that emotional soul, or that emotion that's locked in your soul level, when you get to a real core, raw root one, you will know, just like my little wart on my finger disappeared overnight, things on your body, physical things will actually shift that radically, and you will have a totally new experience of people around you in that dynamic. So if you reflect back on what triggers you, there's triggers every day, right? Whether it's somebody driving by, how they park, somebody at school treated you this way, somebody at work keeps bugging you that way. When you can see what the reflection is and go, okay, that's what's irritating me. This situation irritated me. You go into it, you feel it, and you realize what the underlying thing was, because they were disrespecting you, because they were treating you like a secondhand citizen, because they were stepping over your boundaries. Whatever thing they triggered in you goes back to early childhood. And when you get into the raw emotion of it, where you just have no storyline, you're just sobbing your guts out, that's when it vacates out, and we don't even have to remember. A lot of times those mental images will come later of, oh my gosh, I remember being 4 years old and being treated that way. Totally different circumstance, but same energetic, same emotional energetic. That's how God's law of attraction works. Your entire adult life, you can probably go back and see patterns in all of your relationships and all of the things that keep happening. In patterns, I'm in the same cycle. Why can't I ever get past this? Because you're not willing to feel the emotions of it when it gets triggered. When you do, you will actually vacate it out of the soul, and your whole law of attraction changes so that those events will either not trigger you, or they won't even be coming up in your life. Everything around will switch, because you don't have that emotion still within your soul that would attract something coming to you to try and reveal it. That's how the law of attraction works. It's working perfectly all the time. God is trying to show you by events in your life, people in your life, what is still left unfelt within you. What emotions did you stifle all the way back in childhood that you just couldn't let out? Maybe you weren't allowed to cry because you were a boy. Maybe you were Not allowed to cry because you had to set the example for your brother and sister. Whatever the case was, you're not allowed to get angry. You're not allowed to feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Depressed. You're not allowed to, you know what? You're allowed to feel anything and everything. And the more you let yourself feel, the more joyful you're going to be, because you're going to have less of the harder stuff still sitting in your body. And you'll watch your law of attraction changes. And it also changes the dynamic of all your relationships with people. When your law of attraction changes, especially with those people that are irritating you, you're going to see how the bridge between your energy shifts. Every time that I shift within myself, how I relate with my kids and how they relate to me totally changes. And if you're a parent, the beauty of this is that it allows your kids to actually heal their own piece that they inherited from you. We don't mean to pass things on to our kids other than our genetics, right? Sometimes we don't even want to pass those on. But in vitro, and in that first 9 months of coming into being, every emotion that you felt, every argument that you had with your spouse, every emotion that they felt that was around that, energetically around that baby's field, they took on and carried on. That's how our genetics and our family dynamics and the things that happen every generation repeat themselves, because it gets passed on through our emotional bodies and the soul and what's already in place. And as you free it up in your soul, not only does it go towards your children, but it goes towards your relatives above you, your parents and their parents and their parents. They don't have to be alive still. They're in the spirit realm, and they're actually benefiting by you doing some soul healing work on your emotions, because your kids are going to be freed up then to heal that within themselves. And you'll notice within the next couple of days usually that they are going through some emotional trauma. They're going through some bouts of crying and unexplained like sadness and whatever. Let them move through it. Don't pull them out of it. Don't hug them and say, oh, it's okay, honey. Let them cry. That's the best thing you can do. Let them cry. They'll move through it, and you'll see them shift and change with you. And whether your parents are alive or not, or their parents are alive or not, their soul is now freed up to actually heal up those generation lines as well. So emotional release is a beautiful gift to all of us, especially anger. That's the one that we get stopped on all the time. We don't feel it's appropriate to express anger. And when we're projecting it, it's not. But when we can just let it up like a volcano out to the universe and let Mother, Father, God soak it up and use it somewhere else to grow new kinds of flowers or spring weather or whatever, universe can transform energy. That's where we change the world. That's where we change ourselves, and that changes the world. Hello, Lisa. Your son got sick when you did that. So yes, when you released, he turned around and got sick as a result, because his body's trying to process his own. And I bet when he was sick that he actually released some emotional stuff as well. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. So I would like to draw a card on this for everybody that's here on the live. Thank you for being here. It's exciting to have a little Monday crowd. Sometimes I'm by myself because Mondays are hard for people to get away. But for those on the replay as well, this card is for all of us that are going to be watching this. And that's the beauty of energy, is it dynamically can go forward, back in time. So the cards already know who's going to watch this. Whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people, the cards already know and have a message for everyone that's going to watch this. I love that. So I'm going to actually feel and see where the question is. Can we hear from the angels on this aspect of actually going into anger release and deep emotional release within ourselves? Just a message for us on this topic. I'm feeling it way back here. It's only like the second or third card in. It's actually this one. Ooh. All right. The Three of Michael. The angels never let me down. I absolutely love this. Hi, Danielle. Nice to see you. So the Three of Michael, release the past. You will grow from this situation. Time heals all wounds. So I love this. Release the past. How do we release it? All the things that I just talked about with going into your emotions and being willing to feel them, that's your ticket. That's your key in. And thank you, Michael, for confirming that. Time does heal all wounds, but it's usually because we learn our emotional ability to actually go in and feel all those things over time and let ourselves, time heals it because we let ourselves process it gently. If we let ourselves actually feel things fully when they happen, we wouldn't need that time. We'd be healed pretty much immediately, as soon as we allow ourselves to feel. I love that. So My name is Araya. If you guys haven't worked with me before, I do 20-minute discovery calls. I do 75-minute sessions. I do 12-week programs to get people moving through their stuff like this. You don't have to be connected to dragons to work with me. I have lots of regular clients as well. But getting those things up and out of your soul, sometimes we need a little push to get there. Sometimes we need a little help to see it. And your guides and guardians usually will come forward and work with me in a psychic reading session to actually help facilitate that. And then usually bring some healing stuff through. So if you're curious, you want to see if we're a good fit to work together, love those 20-minute discovery calls. Excuse me, invokehealing.com, you'll see a book now button with my calendar. That will be your link to it. It does only book 3 weeks out, and sometimes I am booked that far out. So just keep trying when you feel called to. Hi Trinity, good to see you. And otherwise, just let yourself dive in. When those emotions are rising, excuse yourself to another room, bash pillows, bang a tree with a hose, just scream your guts out, whatever works for you, because there's 8 billion of us, right? That means there's 8 billion ways to move through this. But you have to move through it. You have to let it out, or it'll be locked in your soul. There'll be a disease come up. You will move into spirit body and probably either have to do it there or get into another body and do it again. So finish it up this round. My advice for today, finish it up in this lifetime. All right, looking forward to connecting with you guys when and if it's right for you. Do watch for, I just posted a Sacred Tibet with the Dragons trip. If you do love dragons or you have been feeling a call to Tibet, this is going to be a very sacred journey, September 5th through the 18th. Contact me for details. And yes, it's a ways out, but we got lots of planning for big trips like that. So please let me know. And otherwise, have a fabulous week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye, everybody.